Hey folks, as you can see I'm in a different area of the world now. It's pretty cold here, there's a lot of snow on the ground. I'm in Connecticut. Let's talk about the grand solar minimum. So as you know, in about 10 to 20 years we should be well on our way into the depths of a grand solar minimum. So what does AGW say about that? Well, what is AGW? AGW stands for Al Gore's wallet. It's a set of theories and hypotheses that basically say that mankind is putting sufficient greenhouse gases into the atmosphere to warm the planet. So let's say that's true, right? AGW is true, okay? Doesn't matter, because no matter how much we put into the atmosphere, the sun is a much more stronger influence in the weather of the planet. The sun provides all of the solar energy that heats the planet entirely. So AGW, maybe let's say that it's true for the purposes of this video, that humans are warming the atmosphere. It doesn't matter, we're still going into a grand solar minimum. We can't possibly warm the atmosphere anywhere near enough to avoid the grand solar minimum. What is the grand solar minimum? It's a cyclical decline in solar activity, which has already started. We have thousands and thousands of years of data on global temperature and sunspots or solar activity. It's cyclical, it goes like this, parabolic, right? Right now we're in one of these, right? And of course the AGW scientists are saying it's going up way faster than it should. Okay, it's going up way faster than it should. It's also just going to go down right after. And we're going to be in a grand solar minimum. What happens during grand solar minimums? Historically, what happens is major empires fall. For example, the Roman Empire, the Mayans. What also happens is there are widespread famines and food shortages. Much like what would happen if Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was elected president. Same thing would happen, right? And so, of course, millions of people starve to death. There's famines, there's plagues, there's things like that. Well, why are there famines? Because it's much harder to grow food during a grand solar minimum. Nobody's prepared. Back then, there weren't 10,000 years of historical solar activity data. Nobody knew it was coming. USDA Zone 6 turns into USDA Zone 3. I'm in a USDA Zone 6 right now. We can grow things like watermelons and tomatoes and apples and pears. Go into a Zone 3, the only thing you can grow is kale, right, and gooseberries. So you're pretty fucked unless you make preparations in advance, right? Of course, you can make preparations in advance by building greenhouses and A-frames and things like that. But obviously a much more efficient way to prepare would be to move to a warmer climate. If you know that there's a grand solar minimum coming, and you see the historical data and you see how significant that is, it would make sense within the next 10 to 20 years you would want to be in a warmer climate to avoid all that. A tropical or subtropical climate. Because if you're already in a Zone 6 or a Zone 5, and all of a sudden you get plunged into a Zone 3 and the farms around you can't produce food anymore, it gets pretty nasty. Now, an intelligent, logical person should be able to look at the data and then look around them and see that nobody's preparing and nobody has any idea it's happening, because all the AGW folks are telling them that it's just going to go straight up in a line forever and ever and ever, which is not true. Climate change is cyclical and parabolic. Because it primarily depends on sunspot activity or solar weather. You look around you and you see that nobody's doing anything, nobody's preparing. That should be a sign that you should get out of there and you should prepare. Move to a rural area in a tropical or subtropical climate, start a garden, start growing some food. Pretty easy to do. If you have an interest in protecting yourself, protecting your species, protecting your family, it's just the logical thing to do. Part of being an intelligent species is being able to look around, gather data, use the scientific method, make logical decisions based on that, and also based on protecting you and your family. It just makes sense. So that's all for today, folks. Enjoy the grand solar minimum. I'm certainly enjoying the snow here. It's much different than tropical Ecuador. Did you know I haven't seen snow in 5 years? It's been 5 years since I've seen snow. Just look at this snow. It's beautiful, right? It's white and it's frozen. It tastes pretty good. I remember the taste of snow. The raspberry bushes over here are, well, the leaves are dying because it's winter. But if we were plunged into a Zone 3, USDA Zone 3 or Zone 4 here, they would just completely die. We would just have to live off of kale, right? And bear fat or whatever. All right, have a good day.